Wayzata girls basketball travel season. We are obviously excited to finally get here. As returning parents and players, clearly we're about a month behind from where we are right now, what normally would be with tryouts and stuff. So thanks for hanging in there. Thanks for believing in our board. It's been a long process. The board's been working hard to try to get this thing together. Created a COVID task force. There's been a lot of moving parts. Been working with community education on getting gyms. So it's been an interesting month or 2 months here. So great work by the board. I think most or all the board members are on here. So if you see a board member around town or in a gym, thank them. They're putting a lot of work in and doing a lot of great stuff. So with that, we have the chat box in the bottom. I know Kurt Merrick is going to be monitoring that chat. Try to throw your questions in there as we're going. We'll do a Q&A sort of at the end. There's always a couple questions for either new folks in the district or fourth graders coming, whatever that might be. Just want to make sure we're getting everything answered tonight. Always get great questions and some good feedback. So always welcomed. With that, I don't think there's anything else that really need to intro. We're going to jump right into our agenda, which will be starting with Graham Ganas and uniforms and swag shop.
Great. Chad, thank you. So, hi everybody, my name is Graham Ganas, and I am responsible for uniforms and equipment for all of Wayzata girls basketball. So, just a couple of notes regarding uniforms. So, this year we'll be wearing the same uniforms that we had worn last year, that the girls had worn. So, we'll be wearing those again. For those parents who have reached out to me over the past several weeks and needed reorder new uniforms or new pair of shorts or a top or what have you, I will be receiving those here hopefully in about the next a couple of weeks. I have confirmed that they've been shipped, so that's good news. So I will be reaching back out to all of those parents who have ordered things and making arrangements to get those uniforms in your daughter's hands. So we're all set there. I want to also point out to fourth grade parents, you all will be having new uniforms, or the girls will be having new uniforms this year. What we did is the uniforms for the fourth grade teams are going to be a little bit different from the uniforms that the fifth through eighth grade teams are wearing this year. And we did that based on the fact of just some delivery challenges with Under Armour. We wanted to play it safe, and we're using a different uniform for the fourth graders. So those will be taken care of. Once teams are announced, I'll get numbers for the girls. I'll be reaching out to everybody, making arrangements for those uniforms to be delivered for the teams. But those will be delivered prior to that first tournament in November that the girls will be playing with. So if anybody has questions regarding uniforms, feel free to ping Kurt in the chat box, or also feel free to send me an email as well, and I'm happy to answer any questions. My email is grahamganas@gmail.com. And then the final thing is that each year we also have Wayzata girls basketball swag gear, right? We'll be having an online store again this year with a whole bunch of different items for the girls. Everything on that is obviously optional. And we'll also have gear on there if parents would like, hoodies, pullovers, baseball hats, have some different things on there. So that store will be open as of Friday, October 16th is what we're looking at to have it opened. So we will make sure to send out an email announcement with the link to that store here just a few days prior to the 16th. So I want to mention that for shooting shirts, the shooting shirt will be available on that online store as well. And there will be backpacks and other items too. So again, any questions that anybody has regarding fan wear or spirit wear or swag, please feel free to reach out and shoot me an email. And that's about it. So not a whole lot on the uniform front this year, again, given the fact that fifth grade through eighth grade will be wearing the same uniforms that they wore last year.
Thanks, Graham.
Thank you.
Yeah, the one thing we wanted to create a lot of flexibility within the store. We don't want to make anything mandatory to buy, just with all the uneasiness with the season and things going on. So that's why the changes. We will look a little different. Fourth grade having a separate uniform, but it's the safest way for us to all have uniforms by the time we need them. So a lot of things to deal with there. So appreciate that, Graham. We'll jump right to Nate Millerburn, travel director, with an assist from Kurt Merrick. But yeah, take it away, Nate. Thank you.
All right. Yeah. Thanks everybody for making it. I'm Nate Millerburn. My oldest daughter started in the program about 8 or 9 years ago, where I coached her, and my youngest now is in 6th grade. I've been on the board for a few years. But this year, the tryout process, as you guys probably all know, it's been pushed back about a month because of all the COVID stuff and gym time and stuff. We finally have it on the calendar for Monday and Tuesday, starting tomorrow night. The tryout process this year, it's going to be very similar to the same process that YZ has been using for the last 20 years and other associations use, as far as how we rank and evaluate all the kids. This year, it's a 2-day format. Like I mentioned, starting tomorrow. 4th, 5th, and 6th grade is 6 o'clock to 7:45, and then we'll do 7th and 8th grade from 8 to 9:45. 2 days. We have 4 independent evaluators that score and rank every player, independent of each other, but they give every player in their group. It's going to be 4 independent evaluators per grade. So they're all going to score every player, numerous skills and gameplay over the 2 nights. We take all those scores, put them together, and when needed, we'll look at last year's coaches evaluation as well, especially in tight situations, or if there's a tie or something like that. We have to look at last year's coaches evaluation. We review that, and then we do the team placement. Team placement will be announced on the website no later than Friday at 7 p.m. We'll post it on the website, so it'll be there. The one thing, tomorrow when you're arriving, have the girls arrive a little bit early to their time. There's going to be tables with grades. There'll be a 4th grade table, 5th grade table, 6th grade table, and then a 7th and 8th grade table later on. But you basically go in, you check in. They're going to make sure they'll check your name off for day 1. We're going to give you a jersey, a numbered jersey. You're going to want to keep that numbered jersey for both nights and then hand it in after the second night. And that number is important that they bring that back the second night too, because that's the only way the evaluators are going to identify the girls. They're not going to have the names or anything like that. It's just going to be by that number. So that's how they score them, and that's why you're going to want to make sure you bring that same jersey back with the same number for the second night. That's kind of the basic evaluation and tryout process. Like I said, it's been working for about 20 years now. We're not going to recreate the wheel, and that's a lot of what other associations are using. So yeah, after that, after the weekend, you'll probably get notified by a coach, and we start practice the week after. We're a little bit behind this year, but everybody kind of is. So.
Sweet. Thank you, Nate. Yeah, we are encouraging, we're not going to get into too much of the coaching stuff tonight, but we will. John Howard, our coaching director, will be communicating coaches as soon as possible. They'll get their rosters. They will connect with parents right away. And the hardest part for you guys, is I know it's the biggest question, is scheduling. How is this going to fit into my schedule? When the practice is going to be? Where are they going to be? Obviously, with the number of teams we have, it's always a challenge. And for you veterans, you know this. The hard part is you're going to get team formed, and you can have a practice on Monday the 12th. So unfortunately, we just can't, without knowing the teams and the placements, it's just hard for us to really pick that. So you got to have a little bit of flexibility in those first couple of weeks, and coaches obviously will be aware of October being a changeover from fall sports and fall activities into winter with basketball. So we know there'll be some practices missed and some things, but obviously, as we move forward to the basketball season, we want to obviously get as close to full attendance as possible.
One more thing, Chad, real quick, I forgot to mention is we're actually going to probably have the tables. It's supposed to be nice out. We're going to have the tables outside at the main entry door of the athletic facilities. When the kids leave after their session is over, we actually have them exit out a different door, so there's not a bunch of interaction. And I think maybe Pat Miller might be going over this, but mask up until we get to the courts, and then we can take them off. And we have different policies in place for tryouts and separation and stuff. But the big thing is we're going to enter through one door and get checked in. But when they exit, all the parents will actually pick up on that back side by the cafeteria. There's some doors back there.
It's door 20, the athletic entrance, and then the pickup will be at door 30 in the back where the buses park in the high school. So one way in, one way out. You good on that, Nate? Everything?
Yep, I think that unless you guys can think of something else quick, but yeah, hopefully I got
If
it.
you have any questions for Nate, just throw them in the chat box.
Yeah.
And then, okay, we'll go to Nick Dwyer with our 2021 fundraising plans. Listen up, because this will be different from the last couple of years. So go ahead, Nick.
Yeah, thanks, Chad. So yeah, Nick Dwyer. I'm the director of fundraising, have 2 girls in the program. So this year we are taking a break from doing the Heggies fundraiser this year in an effort with everything going on with COVID. We wanted to do a contactless fundraising effort this year. So we are going with a program called Snap Raise. Many of you probably have heard of it. If you have kids in other sports in the area, other programs have used this. It's a strictly online donation fundraising effort. So what we do is we create a page that is the Wayzata Girls Basketball Association page. Every girl will be required to create a profile where you just upload a video or a photograph and just a little bit about yourself. We'll send out the information. We'll send out the link to the homepage. We'll also send out a helpful video link that says exactly how to set up your girl's profile, and they can do it themselves. It takes roughly 10 minutes to do, so it's really quick and painless. And then what we do is we ask each girl to reach out to 15 contacts via email, text, explaining why donations are important to the organization that they're part of, and then we raise money that way. So it's completely contactless. It's a strictly virtual online donation process. And then each girl will be incentivized to reach out to those 15 contacts and raise money, buy swag as well. So we'll have different Wayzata options and different Wayzata swag that we'll be able to reward the girls with for participating. So yeah, Heggies has been extremely beneficial for us in the past, very successful, but we wanted to respect everyone's situations and wanted to make sure that we were doing it as contactless as possible this year. So we find we think that this will be a good option to go with, and then could potentially be our option going forward too if it's successful. Other than that, I think, like I said, I'll send out the link to the homepage, the link to setting up the video or the profile, and it's a video that it's really short and simple and very easy to follow. So any questions, please feel free to reach out and let me know. And again, fundraising for this organization is extremely important, from gym space to, it covers the whole base, and we really appreciate all the work that you've given us in the past as it regards to fundraising, and we expect the same this year.
Yeah, thanks, Nick. One big note on the fundraising, we're starting to see most associations, even with pre-COVID, they're starting to go to no gate fees. So, not whipping a bunch of cash out at the door, which is great because a lot of parents obviously don't have cash, or it's a pain in the butt, or it gets expensive. So what they do is they're bumping their fees higher, their tournament fees. So obviously it's got to come back to the parents at some point, right? And we're trying to keep our costs as low as possible. So we're trying to do a lot of that through fundraising. Obviously having Peter Stewart involved in our program, him contacting almost every travel team pretty much monthly, or multiple times a month. Coach has been taking advantage of him. So that's also a big part of it. So thanks for all the work on Heggies. This is going to be a much easier route this year. So great job on Nick. And then also Nick runs our Junior Jammer program. If anybody has a kindergarten through third grader, we are running that program. Registrations are live. I know they're almost full. If we fill them, we may add some spaces. So if it's not you that has a kindergartner through third grader, if you have a friend, send them to our website and check it out. If we get a bunch of want to add some, we will try to add some more, because especially in that kindergarten, first grade group, I got a bunch of emails about that. So keep your eyes on the website for stuff. With that, we'll jump over to the most important man in the room, Mr. Steve Smith, who unfortunately is moving off the board at some point here in the next year, but he handles all of our scheduling. So Steve, take it away. Thank you.
All right, Steve Smith, as Chad mentioned, have been coordinating the facilities for the organization for about 6 years. This year has been very unique. Couple topics. The first one is Team Snap is what we will be back to use. Last year we dabbled into Sports Engine. This year we will be back to Team Snap. Okay, so that will be a change from where we went last year. Structure of team practices should stay fairly similar to what we've done in the past. 2 practices a week of 90 minutes in length. In general, elementary kids get the early spots, and then the middle schoolers get the late spots. I do go through to balance out Wednesday and Friday nights across all the teams. So you likely will have some Wednesdays and some Friday nights. And do keep in mind that some coaches do request Wednesday nights. So if you do have a heavier load of Wednesdays, generally it is a coach request. The other things are kind of new this year. We may work in some weekend time slots based on gym space and availability. So we're still trying to kind of work through what that means, but there may be some weekend practice times that are out there. The other thing, as we're starting late, is we do have the opportunity to use some gym time during MEA Thursday and Friday. So not sure if it will be team practice or a grade skills type session, but there will likely be basketball opportunities on MEA Thursday and Friday, which is 1 week after tryouts. And I will be working to get the first 4 to 6 weeks of the practice schedule out as teams are announced, and also loaded out to Team Snap. And then basically the rest of the season will follow after that. So that's team practice schedule. Skill sessions. This year, the skill sessions will be done local in Wayzata facilities with local trainers. We are not going to be using Minnesota School of Basketball this year, which is a little bit of change. We've kind of evolved over time to where we are. We have solid trainers, and we are going to leverage what we have local. Locations, we will be using Wayzata High School, East Middle, the small gym, West Middle, which unfortunately is under construction and delayed and likely not available to us until January, which causes pain. We do have a new gym at Oakwood that we will be using that is similar to Northwoods Elementary, which are nice courts to use. And then we will have some gym time probably at the Travel in Kimberly Lane and Sunset Hill, and potentially add Providence and West Lutheran as necessary. As a few people have mentioned, COVID is obviously very important that we keep that in the front of our minds. So as we think about facilities and practices, we will likely have flow maps in each of these facilities as to how we want to get in and out. Obviously, we want to have masks. And from a practices are going to be limited to players and coaches as we get started and as we get into the season. I think that'll be talked about further as we go, but it is going to be an interesting year as we start up, and obviously we want to focus as much on safety as we are on basketball. So that's all I have. Any questions, let me know, and we will turn it back to Chad.
Thanks, Steve. Just because we have so many people on right now, I know as far as private facilities go in this area, they're hard to find. So we're obviously going everything through community ed. We have to jump over to the private schools at times, especially now with West Middle School being out. If any of you are members of a church that has a gym that you think would be willing to rent to us, shoot Steve and I a note, and we may make contact, just because if we can get a decent rate out of a church and add a gym, we've done it in the past, and when things are tight, I know Steve has worked through that. They tend to be pretty expensive, but just to keep that in mind, and shoot us a note if you guys know of something. So we appreciate you guys. Thanks, Steve. So now kind of the biggie, the COVID task force was created here about a month ago, maybe 2 months ago. Patrick Miller is fresh sort of fresh to the board, and so I threw him straight to the Wolves and had put him in charge of the COVID task force. We have a preparedness plan, and we have our ducks in a row. Patrick's done an incredible job along with the team to get us ready. And obviously the biggest thing before Patrick takes over is this is really going to be on all of us, right? We all are signed up. There's 180 kids signed up for travel basketball, and we're signed up because we want to see this thing through. We want to have our kids have an opportunity to play. So I'll say it first. It's going to take each one of us doing the right thing, being smart, communicating, and let's hope we can have a great season and get these kids some games. So with that, I'll hand over to Patrick Miller with COVID stuff.
Thanks, Chad. Yeah, you threw me on the first thing. But anyway, Patrick Miller, first time on the board. Looking forward to it. What we formed with our COVID task force is a group of 3 other board members, and what we wanted to put together is everything possible to make sure it was a safe and fair and successful season, right? The number one goal is to ensure the safety of our players and our program throughout. Our guidelines were made in partnership with NYAS and the Minnesota Department of Health. We also looked at several other organizations, associations throughout the cities to see what their plan and approach was going to be. It will take everybody to adhere to these rules to make sure that our season is a success. Interruptions are most likely going to happen. I'm just going to put that out there. It's going to be hard to get away from that. We will address things, and there's an outline plan to how to address things. But as we get teams assigned and created and the coaches are given their rosters, there'll be some further communications along those lines with John. We'll be able to go over some of the rules and expectations really that we want the coaches to drive. But in the end, as we start the season, if your player does not feel well, please keep them at home. I know we always want 100% attendance at practices and games, but this year's a little bit different, and so we want to err on the side of caution. The guidelines are posted on the website. Really, Section 1 covers a lot of the overall guidelines with face coverings, hand sanitizing, reducing contact, and the big one that will be different this year is really no parents are going to be allowed at practice at all throughout the season. We're going to limit the foot traffic through the facilities and make sure that we do have that entry and exit plan throughout. Before any practice or tournament, every player will have to self-screen too. And then if there are things that come up, that's when Section 2 really comes into the reporting. If you have tested positive or have the associated symptoms, and again, as I've learned so much along the way here, and I don't want to be a COVID expert in any way, shape, or form, but if you have any one of the symptoms, it's potentially that you might have what is known as associated symptoms. So the reporting forms that are out there, there's 2 of them, the COVID positive or the associated symptoms, and the second one is the close contact. Now, close contact is defined as you were within 6 feet of somebody who has tested positive for at least 15 minutes. If you're in that range, then we need you to submit that form. That is only if it's done outside of practice. If somebody on your practice, on your team comes down with it, you do not have to fill out that form. Those procedures are going to already take place. What the COVID task force is going to do is really utilize that reporting and make sure it's submitted to the Minnesota Department of Health. Teams and coaches are informed, and especially if players have to miss. Communication is key. Obviously, we will keep things private as they need to be. But when we work through this whole process, we want to make sure that we're erring on the side of safety. And in the end of that document as well, just for everybody's reference, there's several links. We threw probably far too many in there, but the more the better, I guess. And you can get all the information that you need about any of the insights that we had. Really, again, the guidelines, the policy, the preparedness plan is just the best steps. Again, the Minnesota Department of Health is going to be the best site out there. But we do want to err on the side of caution this season, and hopefully we can make it as far as we possibly can with limited interruptions. Back to you, Chad.
Perfect. Any questions for Patrick? Throw them in the chat box or ask him at the end of our agenda here. Just a few things left. And great job. And obviously it's a big moving target right now with everything changing. So we're just going to try to continue to do our best. I know we've all heard that for a number of months, and we'll just see how it goes. But great work in relatively short window of time. And so thank you guys for doing that. And parents, communicate with the coach, right? If kid's not feeling something, or kid is feeling something, has a symptom, just communicate. We know this year is different. Everybody's going to be okay with that. Communicate, say, hey, this is the deal. And every coach that is going to be told that that's agreeable and doable this year. No doubt. So with that, I'm going to go to Jeff Davidman, who handles all of our, you guys, is everybody's favorite part, parent volunteering, which I got to say, guys, with an association this big, we have tremendous parents. You guys all know this. People come up and commend me all the time as a board for our parents' sideline behavior. It's always incredible. So it's no different with the volunteering you guys all do. So thank you for that. And with that, I'll send over to Jeff.
Thanks, Chad, and good evening, everybody. Looking forward to another great season. I'll be really quick here. The volunteer requirement this year will look a little bit different only because we're going to have fewer events where the opportunity to volunteer will exist. Last year we had 3 different events with a preseason tournament, the Heggies, Fundraiser, and then the Classic. This year, as of now, we're just planning on the Classic as our volunteer opportunity. Therefore, just a reminder that the requirement for a parent is, or for a family, is 1 shift of volunteering per daughter in the travel program. So if you have 1, it's 1 shift, 2 kids in the program, 2, and so on and so forth. So it's a shift per kid in the program, daughter in the program. There is an opt-out fee if you do not want to volunteer. It's a $200 fee per child in the program if you don't want to be part of the volunteer requirement. The only exceptions to the volunteer requirement is on the coaching side. So if you're a head coach of one of the travel teams, not rec, but one of the travel teams, you are exempted from the volunteer requirement. And then this year, we're also including 1 assistant, or the top assistant on each team will also be exempt. And again, that's new this year for us. We're able to do it this year because as of now, we are not going to have as many events where we're going to have volunteer opportunities. So head coach, top assistant. We know there's multiple assistant coaches oftentimes on travel teams, but we're going to sort of set it up where it's the 2 assistants that are named, or the head coach and the assistant that's named at the beginning of the season for that team. So looking forward to it. We will usually send out the volunteer opportunities for the Classic at about the same time we release the brackets. That way, when you're signing up, you'll have some idea at least when your daughter's going to play. So you can either choose to sign up when they're in the building or at a different time. So looking forward to a great year. Appreciate everyone's support. It was amazing, the support and turnout we had last year for volunteering, and looking forward to that again this year. Thanks, Jeff.
You bet. Thanks, Jeff. So I'm going to go through some of our policies real quick. We're about a half hour in, and then we have some questions filling up in the inbox or the chat box. They're all good, so we'll address them as well. So let's talk refund. So, I'm sure a lot of you were involved in either spring or summer sports that were canceled, partially, had a partial season, and refunds were very interesting. We are in the soccer world, so we had some of that too in our family. We're trying to wait as long as we can to pay for tournaments that we're signing up for. It's a challenge because at some point you have to trust it and go. So we're going now, and we're filling up these tournaments, and we're giving these opportunities, and we're sort of like writing this check, and we're like want to hold it in the middle and not give it to them because we want it back if there's no tournament. But at some point we got to go. So we're doing that now. Our hope is with our Classic is we don't really have anything to pay up front. So we don't pay for refs up front or, the gym time. The ComEd's always very good to work with us. So how we see it is basically if the season would basically cease to exist, 10% of the way through or 20% of the way through, we're going to try to refund back that remaining percentage. We think that's the fairest way to do it. We put a lot of thought into things that, costs that we're not seeing or not thinking about. The biggest thing that I noticed with other associations was lack of communication. If this happens, we will just try to be above board on communication. What we know as far as money in, money out, because, we know that it's a challenge. So if we, in the event that happens, obviously we're going to try to give back, what's remaining of the season, if that's the best way to put that. The fundraiser, again, I mentioned the gate fees. Obviously, I think this is a model that kind of started on the boys' side. Rochester does it. There's a bunch of other bigger tournaments that do it. We are now moving our Classic to that route as well. But I think there's one of the questions in here from Ms. Goddard that, all these tournaments are going to be a little bit different. some are going to allow one parent, some maybe two, some may be limited to potentially none with the streaming service. We don't really know what all these are going to look like. And it's all going to be different from whatever community you're playing in. So make sure we're getting on the site, make sure we're understanding who can go in before the tournament. And the biggest thing for us with the fundraiser I mentioned earlier with Nick was it's going to be really important for us to fundraise this year, guys, because if we get 2 months into the season or whatever we get to, and all of a sudden, let's say our classic gets canceled because of Wayzata shutting us down and we can't host, obviously that's a big moneymaker for our association to keep all these fees at a reasonable rate. We know you guys spend a lot of money. We try to be as responsible with that as possible. So if we can go out and fundraise and kind of have a little bit of a buffer, knowing that if that classic were to get canceled, but yet the season charges on, if it goes, kind of community by community, that's a fear of ours, obviously. So when that does come out, we're hoping to make it easier. It's an email, it's communication with family and friends, and hopefully we can kind of have a little bit of padding there. One big thing I haven't hit in the past, because I've always kind of known a lot of the families, is player eligibility. So this year we've had to say no to 3 or 4 kids that either didn't have an opportunity somewhere else in another community or want to come play here. You either have to be and live in the Wayzata school district and go to Wayzata schools, or you have to, if you live outside, you have to go to a private school that was within our district. And we're very careful about not letting anybody in because, unfortunately, with the numbers we have, not as strong as the boys' side, it was to cut a number of kids, but we do have some cuts, unfortunately. That's just the numbers we have in certain grades. So we need to make sure if you're on here and you don't fit in those criteria, we went through obviously all the registrations, and it looks like everything is up to par. But if you don't live in the district and go to Wayzata, or if you don't go to a private school in Wayzata, shoot me a note and we'll go through your situation, because what we're going to do this year is the MYAS is requiring us to get all that information up front. So when you get your team form, you'll have a team manager or coach who's going to request the information from you to prove that you are either in the district, go to school in the district, go to a private school in the district. That's got to be in the team manager file and take with you to every tournament that we play in to make sure that we're up to snuff. And what we're trying to do is prevent these super teams. We've all ran across them. I know they're probably more prevalent on the boys' side, but what we're trying to do is you're trying to get a look at every kid and where they're from on the state level to make sure that they're playing within their community they're supposed to be. So it really, at the end of the day, it's going to turn out to be a good thing because kids are going to be playing in their communities they're supposed to be. I just want to make sure that we're doing right by us as well. So shoot me a note if there's something that you're questioning or wondering. Typically, we get that question about other associations, so we don't want to become that association. Player commitment, we talked about it. We have incredibly committed parents and kids. I'm not worried about that. This year is going to be very different. So again, the player commitment thing is it's a winter sport. We know kids are running around doing a bunch of different stuff, whether it be piano lessons or hockey or whatever you have going on in soccer. Commitment is commitment. If you committed to play basketball at the travel level, right, we want you there. That's why you're signed up, and your team wants you there. So the biggest thing is, to me, commitment is if you have another thing going on and you need to be at both places, if you drop in for 30 minutes of a basketball practice and you're dropping your bag and you're throwing on your shoes and you're finishing the practice, to me, that's showing commitment from the parent, from the kid. And that's something we obviously like to see. We have very few, if any, issues with this, so I don't foresee any problems with that, with this group. Again, I'm just saying it because it's on my to-do list. The parent code of ethics. You signed this when you registered. You checked it off. I didn't get any calls, 0 calls from Wayzata parents last year with 18 or 19 travel teams. That's incredible, guys. Incredible. Nothing from our rec program either. And that's just, I think, parents wanting to leave the standard for the kids. And that's what it's all about, is us setting that example, setting the standard that if we're complaining or yelling or going nuts at the ref, that it's okay for the kids to do that. And from the coach on down, we really have the expectation that we're going to go in and we're going to do things the right way. We're going to play hard. We're going to work hard, and we're going to act right. So I appreciate you guys for doing that. But now we need to self-police, because we have, 3rd grade parents are becoming 4th grade parents. A lot of you 4th grade parents may be new to basketball. If you see something going on and you're a family member, it's okay to say something. It's okay to say, hey, let's stay in this lane and let's support kids and encourage kids and not embattle a referee or something in a 4th grade C game because he missed a call or missed a travel, right? There's bigger things, and just keep that in perspective. Again, I got a lot of calls and nobody from our association. So well done. Kind of surprised with some of you and your tempers, and I know quite a few of you on here. So a little surprised by that, but well done, and way to bite your tongue. Coach communication process. So if there is an issue between parent and coach, it happens, right? It's a playtime thing. It's this, it's that. It's not coaching my kid the way I want you to, or whatever that is. From the moment it happens, let's say it's in a practice, we want to give people time to clear their head. If it's something simple, you want to have a conversation, that's easy. Now, if it gets to be heated or it's a situation, give yourself 24 hours. We have a 24-hour rule from the moment it happens during the practice or from the end of a tournament that happens in tournament. So let that tournament get over, let it become Monday, 24 hours from that moment. Have a conversation through email with the coach, set up a meeting between kid, parent, and coach. That's the first step. The next step would be if there needs to be some third party come in, it'll be Nate, myself. I'll probably send Nate in, and let's have a conversation, because reality is we all should want the same thing. We should all want to encourage development, have these kids get better, put them in a position that if whatever their dreams are to play varsity basketball or the WGBA or just to play basketball and have a lot of fun with their friends, they should all have that opportunity to do that. So let's make sure we're all having a great experience. Again, communication is key. So just keep that flowing. With playtime policy, we lowered that number to 10 minutes per game. The reality is we rarely ever have an issue with that, but we are going to be very strong with the coaches that there's an expectation that every kid will play that, and it should never be close. We've had that in the past. I know some of you on this call have had issues with that in the past. We addressed that, and we are going to be very strong with the coaches that this should not be a part of it. This is about development. This is about kids playing, and they're only going to get better when they play. So that conversation will come in the coaches meeting in a week, and we will hold them accountable to that. So some of you on here are going to be coaches, parent coaches. So just know that's coming. Again, very few issues with the number of people we have in our association. Again, I wanted to say it. If there's a question about that, hit me up or Nate up. A couple of little house clean items, then we'll go to some questions. If you are a fourth grade, coming into fourth grade travel basketball, and you're going to go out and buy your kid a new ball, they play, I did not agree with this and or vote for this, but they play with a 27.5-inch basketball in fourth grade in Minnesota. They made that change at USA Basketball or something, and MYS said that was going to be the thing to do, and everybody went with it, except we were dragging our feet as long as possible. And we found that we were playing with one term with 28.5, one term with 27.5 back and forth. So we just said we got to go and do it. So just for parents out there hearing for the first time, it's a little bit weird, but they do sell them at Dick's or anywhere else. If not, you don't want to go buy another basketball, I get it. We will have a couple 27.5-inch basketballs in those fourth grade bags. So they will have access to that size ball. That will be the ball they'll be playing with during the games. Our classic is a go. So we obviously have a thumbs up from Community Ed right now that our January classic will be a go. That can obviously change at any moment. Right now it's looking like we'll most likely have one parent per kid will be the Wyzetta thing. And we take that as a win. The one thing I'm thinking about doing as an association is looking into Baller TV and see what we can do to bring them in and what that looks like from a cost perspective. If that's something we can do without adding another layer or charge to you guys or to anybody else out there. We'll dig into that in the next month and see what that option is, because we know with the streaming services out there, if there's any techie folks that are listening or parents, own a company, own the technology to do it, let me know. We'd love to be able to get this, at least access to our own families for sure. But if we could get that out and stream these games, that would be excellent with only one kid or with only one parent in the gym. So keep that in mind. Jeff mentioned it briefly. And the reason we are also doing for volunteering, the head coach and one assistant coach will be getting the free pass on volunteering. With that, we are only allowing 2 coaches on the bench this year. With the numbers, with COVID and everything else, we've seen some teams have up to 4 and 5 coaches. It gets to be hard for the kids to have some direction. They have so many voices coming at them. We want to simplify the bench. I get that there's always that third or fourth parent that's helping at practice and really involved. We have a lot of great parents that want to do that. We love it. During the game, if you're that third coach, if you're that person keeping the book, let's try to find another place to sit. If you can find some, I'm sure folks sneaking on the end of the bench. It's not the end of the world. We just don't want to have 3, 4, 5 coaches sitting there. It's just a bad look with everything going on, and especially with the restrictions of people in the gyms. So I think that's everything I had. I'm just going to go through the list of questions if that's the best way to do this on the chat on the side. Nick, if you're still, yeah, you're still right there. The timing of the fundraising efforts. I know you answered it in here in typing back, but can you just tell everybody what the timing is of the fundraising?
Yeah, so we don't have a definite date of when it will start, but we were thinking a couple weeks after practices start is when we'll implement it. And it's the way that SnapRaise runs it, it's a 28-day program. So it's a finite amount of time, and it'll be 28 days live from when we start that, which will be a couple weeks after practices start.
Got it. Thank you.
Yep.
There's a couple questions on here regarding how many teams will be formed. Numbers were down initially. We actually are right kind of where we were last year. So numbers actually end up being really strong. So it's looking like we'll have 3 or 4 teams in every grade. So I think right now it looks like numbers, we'll have 3 teams in 4th. We'll have 4 teams in 5th and 6th and 7th, and 8 will have 3 teams. Clearly we talk about this every year, we do not want to be an association that's cutting kids, but 5 teams is just not doable per grade. Just from a standpoint of tournaments, from practice times, it's already really hard and limited to get practices. So that is where we stop the numbers. So with the registrations going back up, there will probably be a few. We will do everything we possibly can to not do that. Just know that going into it. So 3 or 4 teams per. Jennifer Goddard asked about some COVID stuff. Patrick, can you see that on the side?
Yeah. So there'll be a lot of scenarios that we're going to have to run through. First step will definitely be using the forms that we have. But as we go to, it's going to err on the side of caution. It really depends on the timing, and there's a ton of different ones that could come up. Let's just say your team practiced on a Thursday, you came in close contact with somebody on a Friday that did test positive, but you didn't see your team yet. That might not warrant that the entire team has to be isolated, but just that one player. Now, if it was the flip side and you came in contact with somebody on a Wednesday and that Thursday then you had practice, then most likely that team is going to have to be shut down. Now, the time duration is all posted in our guidelines too. It just really depends on what scenario, close contact versus an actual positive test is how many days you'll have to be out. So when the forms or when situations do arise, that's why it's crucial to submit those forms. The COVID task force will reach out to you and we'll talk about what the appropriate plan is with you, the player, and the coach.
Awesome. Thank you, Patrick. So I think we've covered it all. Somebody brought up the selling masks. We are looking into that. On selling the masks, we can have Wayzata girls basketball masks. Like I'm sure you guys want another one. Like you don't have enough already. But with that, guys, I think that's everything. I know we missed something. I'm sure there's a question out there that's not being asked. Anything else specifically you have, shoot it in the chat box right now. If not, reach out to a board member that you heard from tonight regarding your question. You can copy me in on it, and I'll be happy to get it answered. Again, we'll see you guys tomorrow. With weather, it looks like it's supposed to be good. We'll be doing it outside. So simple as dropping your kid off, getting them up to the 4th, 5th, or 6th grade table, whatever grade is. Throw that mask on. Even when we're outside, because we'll be in close contact. Let's make a good example for community ed because they will be watching us. So if we don't look good for community education tomorrow night, and we're housing trials and all these people in one spot, it'd be a really good way for us to shut our season down on day 1. So let's not do that. Let's set a good example right away, and we'll shuttle the kids in to their courts. They'll each have 2 courts. Each group will have 2 courts. So we'll have plenty of room, and then we'll get it done. So we appreciate it. Again, drop off at door 20 at the athletics entrance. Pickup will be at door 30 on the backside where the buses are. Other than that, I think that's it. So thank you guys for jumping on. Great attendance, 132 participants. So thank you guys. Thank you. We'll see you guys sometime this season. See ya. All right. You still on here? Mostly board members. You miss anything, guys? Steph, Nate, Paul?